Hi, Krisha.
Hi, Frank.
It's the Krisha and Frank Show.
Woo, wow. Is it still?
Well, I mean, you tell me.
I've been on a minor hiatus, major hiatus.
Well,
Hi.
let's talk about that today on today's episode. We'll also mention a couple of things of business. You know, you can find us on YouTube, and please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate that. Somebody on Facebook changed us from podcast to video creator.
Ooh, video creator.
I tried to change it back to podcast, and then they changed it back to video creator. I'm like, you know what? We do actually technically create more podcasts than we do. Create more videos than we create podcasts because of See More Smokies. So I'm good with that. We've got our website, krishaandfrank.com, where at this point you've already missed out on the Memorial Day weekend merchandise sale, which is 10% off everything. I hope you saw that on Facebook. But got to thank Tanya Cinnamon for being the first to purchase one of our pint glasses.
Oh, Tanya! Oh, and it looks so good.
And of course, we have the mugs and all the other fine merchandise that you can get at krishaandfrank.com. Click on the little merch thing. Because now they've changed the link. It used to be Teespring, and now it's something else at spring.com. They changed it to spring.com. So it's in the description below if you want to click on the exact link also without having to go to the website. And then, we made a deal with Amazon Music, so you can go to getamazonmusic.com/KrishaandFrank to try it out for free for 30 days, and we hope that you will, because it's an affiliate marketing deal. Hello.
Hello.
And try out all those unlimited, just gazillions of songs, whatever song you can think of.
Yeah, and it costs you nothing to get it for free for 30 days. And then, if you decide to keep using it, that's awesome. But, why not try it for 30 days for free?
All right, so tell me about you. I am sitting here in the podcast, in my regular chair in the podcast Ponderosa, and I'm hearing you on an earbud in my head, and I hope you can hear me okay.
I can.
Oh, fantastic.
I can. Yeah.
Tell me about you, Krisha. What about you? Let's talk about you.
I am sitting in Sevierville, and I have a show. I have to be at work in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that's all my life has consisted of since last we talked, since last you saw my face, since last anything. I've been at work.
So congratulations on having a full-time job in show business. That is the dream of everybody who thinks they can make it. Everybody who thinks, I'm going to do community theater, or I'm going to make it in show business, I'm going to do whatever. Everybody wants to be able to give up the other job, and that's the joke. You've heard this joke in show business a million times. Don't quit your day job. Because you have to have some other means of support to support your show business habit. But here you are, you're one of the few who are a working actress.
Yeah, and I'm doing less acting on stage right now.
All right, you're a working theater professional. How about that?
Correct. But it's been insane. I think you and I have talked about, I've always had the joke that I'm a professional server and bartender who acts on the side.
Yeah.
Now I am a stage manager, sound engineer, actress.
Cool. You got promoted into management since last time we spoke, I think.
Since last we spoke. And it's been an insane learning curve. And it's been crazy busy. And there's always, as with any theater, as you know, Frank, there's always something that goes wrong. There's never just a day that's like, you come in and you have a day. It's never that.
That's part of why we do it, though, because, it's I'm going to use the example of Matthew Broderick and the producers, where he's got, he's the accountant and he's there just like a robot doing the mind-numbing work, and I want to be a producer, because he wants to be in showbiz. And from that side of it, the same thing when you want to be a stage manager or an actress or whatever you want to be, you want to break out of that mold, because each day is similar, but the specifics are different.
Right. And every single day has been different and a new challenge. And I mean, just yeah, I've told you in the show we have a pool that works. Like we have an actual
swimming pool. It cracks me up because I imagine it like in It's a Wonderful Life where you roll the floor back and there's a swimming pool under the floor of the stage, and that's pretty close to accurate.
No, that is 100% accurate.
Except I think the floor goes up and down rather than back and forth. That's the only difference,
correct.
Right? Is the floor goes actually down into the water?
The back goes up, the middle goes back, the front goes down.
Okay, Whoa, Nelly.
And there was a day in the middle of a show where it just stopped working.
That's not good. How are you going to clog? No. How are you going to clog if there's still water on the stage?
Yeah. So it's always...
For my northern friends, clogging is a form of southern dance. We're not going to go stuff hair on the drain to get... I got to explain that to my northern friends and family.
Like clogging. What is that?
It's like tap dancing, but with thick cloggy shoes.
With big cloggy shoes. It's actually, clogs have 2 taps.
Okay. There you have it.
As opposed to tap shoes have 1.
That's fantastic.
And tap starts with your toe, clogging starts with your heel.
Thank you. I didn't know any of that. I appreciate it. I've seen it. I just can't imagine it. It moves too fast for my brain to comprehend. When I look at the tap dancing, I'm like, I don't know how they're making those noises. I can't put it together.
To be honest, I didn't know how clogging worked until I started working with cloggers, and then they started teaching me stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's how it works.
You're the clogging queen. Oh, if only ABBA had recorded that instead.
A clogging queen. It'd have to have banjo in it.
Okay.
Like, yeah. But honestly, that's what I've been doing. Last we spoke, last we talked, last we saw each other. Last we saw each other, you said something about, what was it? It was calluses on your hands from mandolin lessons. Let's not overlook that. Well, I can show you calluses on my hands from pulling ropes. And here's those. Yeah, so I've been doing that as well.
Because being stage manager isn't enough, you're now training to be a band member in the show. Is that what you're doing? Correct.
That's absolutely what I'm doing.
No, I mean, I was kidding. Are you serious?
No, but you're correct. That is absolutely...
I thought you were taking mandolin that was your mental break. That was your hobby. That was your escape from work for a minute.
Yep, that's what it was.
But now?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not.
See, that's the problem with comedy. You go for truth in comedy, and I hit too close. I did not intend to get that close to the bone on that one. I mean, really?
Yep. Yeah, really.
Good golly.
Absolutely, really.
You're crazy.
I know. You're telling that is truth in comedy. You crazy. You crazy?
You know what I mean? You're insane.
Yeah, I'm crazy.
You get this job as an actress because you're the most qualified person to be the relief, the swing relief, the alternate Ma McCoy.
Yes.
They get there and they figure out, oh, you've managed a show, you've done stage managing before at Flying Anvil. Why don't you do that? Oh, you've run sound before because you used to be in radio. Why don't we teach you that? Oh, and now because you're taking mandolin lessons on the side as a hobby.
Uh-huh.
They're like, we need a backup mandolin player in the band. Oh, come on.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm also, I am also soon to be jumping in the pool as a diver.
That sounds kind of fun, really.
It's, you would think it's fun, but from what I understand from all the people that do it, it's just painful.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because, it's like, it's a small but very deep pool. So what I've been told is the water is very unforgiving when you hit it because it doesn't have a lot of space to disperse.
I understand that.
So, yeah. But, and I've got the boyfriend.
Who is also your mandolin teacher.
who is also my mandolin teacher and phenomenal human. So that's good. That's really good. Totally unexpected land. Yeah.
So there,
kids finish school.
You've got a whole new life. You're a different person than last we talked.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I'm like the best part is I'm still existing as the human that I am and that it's all it all happened very quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
But the best part is I get to be Krisha and myself and not anybody else, or not try to be anybody else. Does that make sense? Like,
well, this has been we've talked about this so many times on the podcast, the shwoo phase and the path of discovery and all the things that have changed in your life over the course of the past, I'd say it's been more than a year now, right?
It's about 2 years.
There you go.
Yeah,
good for you.
I mean, August of 2018 was when the big hit went down. Mm-hmm. So we're 3 years in. Yeah. But no,
that was the total eclipse of the sun.
That was
total eclipse of the sun.
It was. It all happened that year. Yeah. I left radio that year. Like, it all happened. I know. Believe me, I was there for part of that. You were there for most of it. But no, I think, we've talked about so much of how much work that I specifically, and I don't want to just talk about me, I want to talk about you too, but that we've talked about how much work that I was doing just to get back to me and find that place, and the work of reaching out to you and the work of us working together and all of that. Like, it's taken all of that work and that hard work to kind of move into this phase where I feel really solid in my heart and on my 2 feet in everything that I'm doing.
I'm thinking of one of the worst songs of all time by Charlene. I've slept with kings. I've seen some things a woman's not supposed to see. I've been to paradise, but I've never been to me.
Oh, that's a terrible song.
One of the all-time worst songs in the history of Top 40 radio.
Terrible.
And number one.
Top 40 radio.
It was a number one. It wasn't just
that
Top 40.
That was a number one song.
It was a number one, and it sat there for a couple of weeks too.
That hurts my soul.
And that was the time when I was trying to get into radio. I was looking to get into radio at that time, and that song almost stopped me. That's how bad it was.
Gosh, I'm surprised. I'm really glad it didn't, but I'm surprised it didn't. But in this whole process, there are things that also need refining and need changing and need figuring out. And I think you and I are still on the path to figuring out what our current path is, and that's all on me. And to anybody listening and or watching, that's totally on me, because Frank is here and at the ready, and it has been such a whirlwind that I have let that get away from me. And you and I have talked about this before. This is really important to me, and I know it's really important to you. And so figuring that out, we're still on that path, and I'm still trying to figure it out.
I do want to thank Jerry the Brave, because she has Joy Philbined it. We did a regular show on Mother's Day, and frankly, her schedule's been too busy. I was thinking about having her fill in again for more of the regular episodes, the regular podcasty episodes that are sponsored by Steve's Tree Service or Middleburg Barn or Bone
Speaking
Zones.
of Steve's,
and I've got some news about Steve.
Cool.
But also Jerry has filled in on a couple of our See More Smokies adventures.
Yeah.
And you'll notice, I mean, maybe you wouldn't as just regular watching it, but Krisha, you'll notice that I'm deliberately using Jerry on the places that are too far from Pigeon Forge for you to go.
I saw. I have deliberately noticed that.
That's how we're picking the places. I'm going through to SeeMoreSmokies.com looking for the furthest away ones. I'm like, well, Jerry, we can go to this glamping place. It's in Townsend. It's completely 2 hours away from where Krisha is. She's never going to have time to go there. So let's do that one. And then we're going to do, for this week, we're going to do the apple orchard in Cosby, which is practically North Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's going to be fun.
But no, and Jerry is amazing, and she's so charming and wonderful, and I thank her, and I also thank you, Frank, for your constant support and love, and just going with it and being here.
Speaking of support, do you ever notice how when a tree branch is coming down, you don't want to hit anybody in the head, you need to support it on its way down to the ground, much like they do at Steve's Tree Service.
That was a heck of a segue.
Well,
Steve's Tree Service.
Because what they've done is there's a video. Have you seen this video on Facebook from the other day, yesterday, or the day before?
No, I don't think so.
The city of Gatlinburg has been using Steve's Tree Service. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Let me rephrase that. Someone in Gatlinburg has been using Steve's Tree Service to take down some parts of trees that are, in danger, and they put a video up where this particular one was not on city property. This would have been like one of the motels or hotels. And they have to get this huge branch down, and not hit the building and not hurt anybody. And of course they do it. They support the branch. You know, it's not more than a branch. It's gigantic. It's like the size of a tree itself as it comes down. And I'm just excited that they're getting work, and that you guys who watch and listen to the Krisha and Frank show are calling Steve's Tree Service at 865-257-6214, or that you're looking them up on Facebook where they've got their 5-star rating, and great also on Yelp and Google, wherever. You know, they do a good job. And
and they've been in business for over 30 years. They serve, obviously, if they're working in Gatlinburg, they serve not just Knox County, but all of their surrounding areas, too. And, man, I tell you, like, if you need, you better call them. Like, they're busy. If they're in Gatlinburg, they're busy.
I haven't talked to you since, but remember my whole plan since last year when Steve cut down the pine trees on Halloween weekend. I said, I can't wait for the spring and summer. I can't wait for spring and summer, because once the sunlight hits that pool, well,
it's going to warm up.
Now, granted, it was cold over Memorial Day weekend, which is actually part of the story too. But the pool, I took the cover off on, I think it was April 22nd, and I was keeping an eye on the temperature. And then we had that heat wave where the highs were in the 90s before Memorial Day. The pool water jumped up 6 to 8 degrees in 2 days.
Whoa!
So it was like 72, and then it went to 80. And 80 is the perfect temperature to get in. So then when it's freezing cold out there over Memorial Day weekend, the pool water is actually warmer than the air. So it's freaky because you're sticking your hands in warm water to fish out the dead cicadas.
That's like, you know what's funny is I've spent most of my time in Sevier County, have not seen one cicada.
Well, all right. Well, so that wraps up Steve's Tree Service. They helped me with my pool. They helped me with my house. They helped Gatlinburg people. They do everybody. 865-257-6214. They help everybody. But all right. So the cicadas.
I've not seen a single cicada.
I believe it.
Not heard one, not seen one.
I don't think you're in the zone. I think if you look at the map, it's just such a weird thing. You know, most of it is further north of here. Like I think Frank Jr. is expecting to get some in Michigan, but it's too cold up there still. I don't think they've had them yet. Megan is in the thick of it in Northern Virginia, where she can't go outside her front door without using a broom to sweep them off of the porch because they're so thick you cannot step on the ground without stepping on a cicada. She showed me a picture when we were doing FaceTime. She said, here. And I said, that's crazy. That's so full. She's like, this is nothing. I have already swept once. This is the second batch. And they had to go out of town for Brian's grandma died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They were gone for the weekend for the funeral, and they come back, and the carcasses are just thick. And that's really a big part of it. The Brood 10 is huge up there. But you know what? In my neighborhood, Krisha, they don't. I have them on my house, but I don't think they have any across the street. I think my house is the border. I think my house is like.
You're the cicada border for your neighbor.
I think I am. I mean, I was talking to next door neighbor Nancy, and she was excited because she saw one. I'm like, what do you mean you saw one? I said, come over here. We walked over. We opened up my fancy new fence gate, and her eyes go wide because you can see all those little brown. Shells all over the inside of the fence. They crawled up the new fence and shed their shells.
Do you think, one, it's because of your fence, and do you think, two, it's because of your pool?
No, I think it's because this house, it was I think literally the first house built in the subdivision. If not the first, it was the second. And the woods behind me, obviously those oak trees back there are old. They're tall, they're thick, they're strong. And that's what the cicadas look for, is they have to...
That makes sense.
If anything has been built or developed in the past 17 years, they've killed whatever cicadas were under it. If it's been built or developed in the past 34 years, they've killed whatever cicadas were laying down under there.
Yeah, it does kind of blow my mind that it's 17 years. Like they know scientifically it's 17 years.
Frank Jr. was explaining this to me scientifically.
Okay. Give me the science.
He said the two most successful broods of cicadas are the Brood 10, which is the 17-year cicada, and then there's another one. I don't remember the number of it, but they're a 13-year cicada. And he said, what do you notice about those numbers, Dad? I'm like, He said
they're odd numbers.
He said yes, but they're also prime numbers.
Prime.
And he said they're relatively large prime numbers. I'm like, okay, so what? He's like, well, if the cicada's life cycle coincided with the life cycle of one of their top predators, the predator would thrive and the cicadas would not. But the cicada's basic survival technique is to emerge in the billions and but survive in the millions, because so many of them get eaten to the point where the predators are just gorged to the point where they can't eat anymore.
That's brilliant.
The predators get gorged to the point where they're so full they can't eat another cicada. So then the next wave of cicadas then is the successful wave that populates and produces the next generation.
Just the idea of how does this happen?
Right, because I guess most of these predators, he said most of these would have like a 2-year or 4-year life cycle to maturity. Like a bird, baby bird takes maybe, let's say, 2 years to get to the point where they're ready to have a bird family and lay eggs and do all the things. So if that coincided, if the cicadas have an even year cycle, every 2 years that bird population is going to really do well, and their babies are going to do well, and so on and so on. It's going to go on, forever. But because,
and then basically you're not going to have cicadas anymore.
Right, and maybe there were 10, 12, and 14-year cicadas that have lessened or died out, but the ones that are most successful are these large prime number cicadas, and it blew my mind.
It's so insanely makes sense, but it's impossible for me to truly understand.
And it's so Frank Jr. to know all this.
Of course it is.
So I not only did I wrap my peach tree in wedding tulle to keep the cicadas off of it, but I also found a video from a few years ago of David Attenborough from the BBC talking about the cicadas.
I love David Attenborough.
So it's on YouTube. It's from like 10 years ago, so it wasn't even a cicada year. But I've been searching cicadas so much that it popped up in my feed. So it's David.
It's now populating cicada stuff to you.
So David Attenborough is on there talking about these 17-year cicadas and how they're so fascinating. And he talks about the males and that annoying noise that I can hear it. I've got the windows closed, and I've got the door closed, and I've got the curtain pulled to lessen the roar of the cicadas a little bit, because they're all behind my house. But if you go out to the front of my house, and when I walk around my neighborhood, just do a lap, I only hear them in the 5 houses closest to me. I hear them coming from the woods behind my house, but not in the rest of my neighborhood. It's weird.
That makes sense. But I love that noise.
So, and this is different than the summer August cicadas, which I guess are more. They wouldn't be a prime number cicada. They'd be every year or whatever they'd be.
Right.
All right. So Attenborough says, well, that's the male. And I've seen the males and the females getting busy because they end up falling in the pool or they end up laying on the deck, and they're linked together. And the males make that noise. But he says the female sound is completely different. They snap their wings together, and you can imitate it by snapping your fingers. So you snap your fingers. So then what he does is he's got a twig, and there's a male cicada on the twig, right? So Attenborough starts snapping his fingers like this. And you can hear, maybe, I don't know if you can hear, I'm getting a little further away. I'm trying to get a little further away with it. The cicada follows the snap of the fingers. and then he says, all right, now I'm going to make you go the other way. And he comes back and he moves he puts snaps on the other side. The cicada does a 180 on the twig and goes after the snapping sound the other way. Ultimately, the cicada flies and lands on his face, and he's like, oh no. So he's snapping his hands over near his face, and the cicada jumps and lands on his wrist, going toward the snapping fingers.
That's crazy.
It was.
That's crazy.
I know.
Oh, Frank, I miss you.
I miss you too. I've got all this crazy stuff. I mean, it's not crazy. It's just this is what I do all day. I think about these things, cicadas.
I set stuff on fire, and today is a crazy day at work because the corporate safety people are there. So,
I'm excited because after we record this episode, I'm headed downtown to the Marble City Opera where they're performing Tosca. And tonight is the final dress rehearsal, and we're going to record it, as a permanent record. But also, I've talked myself into by opening my big mouth, saying, Catherine, you should have someone host it like they do on the Metropolitan Opera. And usually they have singers host it, all right, not wise mouth DJs. And she looks at me and says, well, you do it then. I'm like, okay. So my friend Jim Johnson will be recording the opera tonight, the rehearsal, but I'm going down early to record 3 intros, so I've had to really learn the plot of Tosca so I can know it backward and forward, so that I can just spew it out depending on whatever happens during the course of these intros. And
your lovely wife, Jerry, is in the opera.
I'm so proud of her. In order to prepare better, I went to the dress rehearsal on Sunday night. And when she comes out on stage, I just started beaming I was so happy for her because plays in the first scene. She's in the church choir and they're celebrating what they think is a military victory. Turns out they're wrong, but at the time everyone is excited about this, and they're all jumping around
swoony?
And dancing. I was totally swoony because here she is, playing this part of we are overjoyed, and she looked so happy. But I also know that she is so happy to be able to sing again. Yeah,
right.
She hasn't been able to do any choir singing or chorus singing in how long?
Yeah, over a year.
Yeah,
yeah.
And the show is fantastic. It's really great.
I wish I could see her.
Well, it's $40, but you can buy the online stream at marblecityopera.com, marblecityopera.com/tickets.
Ooh, little sneaky plug.
Well, I'm on the board. I have to, at some point, work that in. I don't have any choice, really.
Oh, okay. So we're going to do another one of these
All
soon.
Right. We'll wrap this one up. We'll say thank you to Steve. We'll also remind you that if you do like podcasts and you do like listening to audio entertainment, Audible has those things, and you can get a free 30-day trial of audible.com. Listen to us on Audible Pod, for example. Go to audibletrial.com/Krisha and Frank.
We did it together.
I know, because I'm looking. Go, oh no, I forgot to write that one down, and I haven't. I just have my notes say plug Audible trial, and I'm like, what's the URL?
It's the one that Krisha could never remember. audibletrial.com/Krisha and Frank.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I got you. I got your back.
Well, next time we talk, I've got news about Artie Rocket. I have another stray cat that has been bothering me.
Stray cat strut.
Have news about the big barbecue bash. I have news about buying life insurance, giving blood. I have so much to tell you. So much to tell you.
And all I have to tell you is I've been at work.
Well, I got enough topics to fill 2 more shows, so don't stress.
I can't wait.
All right.
I can't wait.
It's the Krisha and Frank Show. Look for us at krishaandfrank.com. And then keep an eye out for Jerry and me to do another See More Smokies adventure. And this one I literally picked because we're out of apple butter in the house. And they sell giant quart-sized bottles of apple butter at the place I want to go. So
You're amazing.
I'm going to go shopping. All right.
I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.